Hi, my name is Glenn Story. I'm the founder and CEO of Patriot Mobile. I'd love for you to learn more about Patriot Mobile, www.patriotmobile.com/Gene V. More importantly, I'd like you to be a subscriber to his show. I mean, his Truthcast is amazing. And if you get to listen to some of them, you'll never go back. I really encourage you to come watch it.
Relationships matter because people buy people, and that's why I buy Eddie Zarin Insurance of the Zarin Insurance Agency in Pensacola, Florida. A family-owned business with over 50 years in the business, and they treat people the right way. From homeowners insurance to contractors insurance, condo insurance, commercial insurance, all the different coverages that are out there, and of course auto insurance, they've got you covered. They worry about you first. You're more than a policy number. You're a person who they're watching out for, not when the sun is shining, but after the hurricane has left. If you want real service with real savings, contact Eddie Zarin at the Eddie Zarin Insurance Agency. www.zarininsurance.com. Give them a call today. You'll be glad you did when you do.
Gene Valentino down in Florida, down in Pensacola. Glad you're joining. This is like the Three Stooges plus one up here this morning. I don't know if you want to join this crowd here. They're full of coffee and donuts, and they're attorneys, you know. So we've got a good crowd here. But thank you for joining us this morning, Gene.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be with all these fine gentlemen. How's everybody doing?
I'm fine, Gene. How you doing?
That's the
Good
judge.
to hear your voice. Judge Zach Bond, nice to hear your voice, and everyone else. Charles?
Doing well. Thank you. How you doing this morning, Gene?
And Joseph Jones,
well.
another attorney. We got two lawyers here. You know, you and all the lawyer jokes I told him already. Two lawyers at the bottom of the ocean, a good start, you know.
The only thing worse would be a politician.
Well, now, Gene has been a politician. You can't talk about that too much.
You got to watch out for those guys.
That's right.
You know, there are some good politicians out there, but I think if you stay in the office long enough, even a disciple will become bad. The temptation is just too great, or the pressure is too much. Maybe that's why we should have term limits. What, Gene? Go ahead.
I was just going to say we're watching it now with what they did to Graham Plattner and pushed him out the back door. Democrat Party is no longer a Democrat Party. It's the Democratic Socialist Party, and that's masked. That's Q. That's cosmetics for the real instilling of communism in America. And I hope and pray that we not live in a vacuum of poor information or ill-informed, because as we've said for years, Ted, I fear communism is in our backyard right now. No offense with lawyers and judges, prosecutors, and the legislators themselves, but they all have a hand to play in trying to consider this extreme left attempt that they paint with the brush of democratic socialism. It's emphasizing control over our nation in a way that I fear so much. Boy, I was so hot on this topic this morning. The lightning started going off, power disconnected, and I'm saying, Jesus, Ted Tibbett going to get through.
You know, it's and you talk about the Democratic Party and where they've gone for just a minute. There's a story in Mississippi now. Next year is our statewide elections. And the Democratic Party of Mississippi has always fielded candidates, certainly for governor and some of the other races right now. And, well, for instance, we had one that ran 4 years ago, Brandon Presley, who was a second or third cousin of Elvis Presley. And he had been, I think, public service commissioner up in North Mississippi. And so, you know, he wasn't a Nancy Pelosi type person anywhere near that. But right now, they're having a hard time finding what we would call moderate Democrats that want to run because of the national party. And they're just as sure, you know, that the minute that they claim office, you know, the opposition's going to say that's they belong to Nancy Pelosi or Schumer or somebody like that, and they're right down the crapper again.
Yeah, we just remember the Democratic Socialist Party of America, DSA, is not really a party. It's more of a group or a club or a platform of people that put themselves into the Democrat Party to run for office because the structure of our system is so ensconced in a bureaucracy of its own for elections and structure for voting. It's impossible to create a communist party and put it on the ticket, for example. But they go by DSA, and this new DSA policy, they want to eliminate the United States Senate. They want to replace the president with the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court with the executive and judiciary chosen by a subordinate group underneath the United States Congress. They want amnesty for all immigrants. And they want to start defunding the Department of War. Now, I didn't make this up. This came right out of their rule book that they've put out there. And the people who are espousing it start at the top with the likes of a Bernie Sanders, who's really not a member of the DSA. He just affiliates himself with the DSA. But this group goes back to 1982 with a Michael Harrington out of New York. The group's grown to over 100,000 members nationwide as of 2026. And their intentions continue. I mean, they're even going further, guys, with universal health care for everybody. Just keep paying. Don't worry about how it's funded. Stronger labor unions. That was the problem we had a long time ago when President Nixon was reaching out to Mao Zedong long before Xi Jinping. We were setting up economic business relationships with China and made it so convenient for U.S. business to do business in China because the cost of goods sold or the cost to produce things was a third or a fraction of what it was costing because of our unions here in the United States. So that was the beginning of an era for us where we inappropriately put way too much weight in foreign businesses. What's Trump doing now? Sticking a tariff on these same people so that it makes it more difficult for our business people to buy those same goods and services from them so that we build and secure our goods and services for our production from the American economy. And the ripple effect has been geometric through these tariffs that no one's talking about anymore because there's so many other balls in the air right now in the protection of our nation. If I may, my buddy just texts me from New Mexico talking about, hey, heads up, keep an eye on drones coming out of Cuba to attack America, very much like the Cuban Missile Crisis of an era ago. You know what? He's right. We've got different elements of threat approaching us from different areas. And it's for several good reasons, I hope Cuba becomes the 51st state.
You know, it's crazy out there, and particularly you mentioned drones. That's one of Iran's deals right now. And it just, when they first they said there's some peace coming up with Iran, I never trusted it. To begin with, to me, if you win a war and you defeat the people, the guy's got to holler uncle and stay down and give up, and everybody does that. And Iran never did that. They're saying, hey, we won. And now I hear this horrible news coming out through the Israeli government. You might give us an update on this, on a threat on the president's life.
It's God bless the Israelis. They have been instrumental in several in securing information from several sources of their own in the Middle East to put America on notice. So there's a little bit of talk in the news right now about the spat between President Trump and Bibi Netanyahu. It's bull. Sure. And like any of us, when we're working together day in, day out for weeks at a time, we have a little few points of disagreement. Doesn't mean we don't respect each other. It doesn't mean we don't continue to work together. We just have little points of disagreement. That sounds like the human condition and rather normal to me. But it was what you just described, Ted, that put America on notice and the security forces of this nation to decide what to do with this big 747 that we've secured. We better go back to the U.S. Air Force One that we had, which had built-in military intelligence and countermeasures built into the airframe of that aircraft, that the new Air Force One did not have. And it can be retrofitted, but I don't know. I don't want to receive an aircraft from a foreign nation, even though it might have had parts or major portion of it built by Boeing. It wasn't designed with specifications for the president.
It's the news is that you've got to watch closely right now, and thank God, think where we would be today with the turmoil in the world in Iran if Trump had not got elected. It's just scary.
I take pause when you say that, because I don't exaggerate in saying that Judge Zach Vaughn may not have been a judge at this point in time. Charles would not be working in the station with you. I wouldn't have a podcast and a weekly show with you to participate in. Said differently, this nation would have collapsed under the weight of social Marxism, which is really communism. And this is the enemy from within we talk about. This is the bad people of the world that have been working to take us down. This is worse than the fights that we're dealing with, which are in plain view in the 6 o'clock news. Israel, Gaza Strip, Iran, Venezuela, all the stories that Trump is dealing with in a very strategic way. It's the cancer from within in our backyard that we need to worry about now. I'm not saying abandon the issues that exist overseas. In fact, we need to get them on board with us in a formidable way, including the ding-dongs of a younger generation in Europe who don't know just how deep into the well they're going with this social Marxism. But that aside, we need to garner all the support we can worldwide and then come back home and take care of the enemy from within. That enemy is in your neighborhood and mine. It's the wrongdoing of some of these characters that are trying to work to take down our constitutional republic.
Some 40 years ago, I was on a beach in San Juan, Puerto Rico, at a convention sales marketing executive. We only got about a minute and a half. And Trent Lott was a special guest, and it was my job to pick him up at the airport and carry him around and sit down talking to him. Now, this is 40 years ago, remember that? And I can hear him saying right now, he says, Ted, you won't believe it, but there are representatives from California you would think were socialists or communists. I said, oh, come on, man, this is America. We don't have anybody like that even in California. He says, we better watch out. The future could be that way. Man, it's scary.
We're only one generation from losing it, Benjamin Franklin said. And, he said, the nation is yours if you choose to keep it. It was Ronald Reagan that says we're only one generation away from losing it. And it's true. I think we've got to work harder at protecting our constitutional republic. And the best government is local government, because the best that means you and me and the folks listening need to be more proactive in stepping up and participating. Participating means contributing, giving your 2 cents, making sure they hear your point of view, and helping your local community grow, and so grows the nation.
Now, that I want to say this, that is absolutely correct right there. What he just said, is absolutely correct. Most people like to sit back and complain, but you go back and look at see if their name's on the voter list. 70% of our people don't vote. All right, the least you can do is vote. But if you really want to make a change, just put your name on a ballot. It's amazing what you can get out of a politician if they fear you, because a politician wants to stay in business. So I agree with that, Gene, 100%.
Gene, you fired everybody up and time has run out. But, man, I'm looking forward to next week right now. Normally I'm talking about the weekend. I can't wait till next Friday.
Going to munch on my donut. The Velvet Hammer is also your big daddy, according to my buddy Peter in the Carolinas. So,
hang in there, buddy. We got to go.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed,